Ciao folks! Welcome back, it's the Amphora Annals, it's Nick, it's Aldo, and today's episode we have left the Eastern Mediterranean, you might be happy to hear, and we've headed all the way down to the Atlantic and we're on the wonderful sunny island of Tenerife. So yes, on today's episode we are going to be profiling Bodegas Vinatigo Gual 2020, which is very different, I'll tell you that, but it's got a lot of history and it's a fantastic winemaking region. Yeah, the Pillars of Hercules. The Pillars of Hercules near Gibraltar. We've thrown a left down the south coast of Africa, and we've come to the Canary Isles, specifically Tenerife. I don't quite understand that. Morocco, there we go. But what we have got is, and you might have learned this from previous episodes, but we've got an amazing belt of volcanic islands. Now, we've talked about Santorini briefly, and we've mentioned other places. These volcanic islands, I find, are the most exciting wines to try. This wine that we're going to profile from Bodegas Vinatigo, it was profiled in the 2020 Decanter magazine, and I believe it was called Decanter Spanish Wines, 18 New Wines to Try. But for them to profile such a small, I'd say a medium-sized winery, but such a small wine, I believe they only produce 4,500 bottles of this a year. That's what it says, yeah, well, 4,256 according to the front label. I think it's absolutely brilliant. So we're going to try it. So the grape variety is Gual. Gual is the local colloquialism or synonym, I suppose, for Boal, which is originally Portuguese. Now, the Portuguese had a rather big influence, but not before the Spanish did. Now, Tenerife and the Canary Isles were, I guess, independent territories up until the early 1400s. And then it took about 90 years for the Spanish and the Crown of Castile to actually conquest the actual chain of islands. And that's a long time to kind of take over a few islands, but it was worth it for trade links to the New World and Mexico and all that kind of stuff. I was listening to a podcast the other day about how vines from Tenerife were actually transported over to Mexico, which then through the course of history found their way into Southern America, which I found fascinating, that kind of stuff. These are the things that we don't really think about when you're talking about wine and trade.
It's a great subject.
Yeah. But this grape variety, Boal, we'll call it Boal for the time being, was brought over by the Portuguese after the Spanish had taken over the island. Again, the Crown of Castile. Now, the winery itself is owned by a fellow called Juan Jesus Mendez, and their kind of number one idea when they started this winery was to rediscover, and this is in their words, rediscover, save and cultivate ancient indigenous varieties on the island.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah, that was kind of like crack to a crackhead for us too. We were like, right, we're on that one. We definitely wanted to get on that, and I'm glad we did, because this wine's completely different from anything we've tried. We've tried in a long time. Now, in terms of the island itself, as we've mentioned, it's volcanic. Volcanic soil is incredible for growing all kinds of produce. There's one main reason for that, and it's water retention. So yes, these places are quite dry, but when the water kind of goes down into the water table, the vines, let's talk vines, nothing else. The vines and the roots have to work really, really hard.
I thought that, and you go deeper and deeper and deeper.
And deeper and deeper and deeper to get all the way down to the nutrients. And what that does is, it makes the vine itself stronger, quite lean. Strong, lean. If same with vines, if they've got to work really hard to get any nutrients, then by the time the nutrients get back up to the vine, they're going to be mean, lean and bad to know. So that's really kind of the main thing about volcanic soil. The other thing about Tenerife is that, as we know, it is in the Atlantic. So yes, whilst it's very hot, it's got quite a consistent climate. It's warm all year round, and they have winters and that kind of stuff, but there's no real spikes in heat or either way, spikes up or down. And they've got those wonderful sea breezes that bring in kind of cooling temperatures to cool everything down, but also wonderful kind of salinity, which you'll probably find when we do the tasting notes in this wine.
Good point.
There we go.
Salinity, I've got it, yeah.
Another great key fact about the islands of the Canaries, but also Tenerife in particular, is that they are phylloxera free, and they always have been.
Wonderful.
Now, yes, I knew you'd like that one. Is the great thing about that is if you are labelled pre-phylloxera, that means that these vines are very, very old. Tenerife, it was never touched, so all of these vines are either 120 years plus old, or they are grafted from vines that are that old. So what you get, as I'm sure my father will put some remarkable quip in, is that the older they get, the more intense flavour you get, but you get less out of them.
And intelligent.
That's the interesting thing, you get less out of them. I don't tend to get any yield out of father anymore, so there you go. Okay, so should we do some tasting notes and see what this wine's got to say? So this is very different to anything I've tried for quite some time. We've been touching along the Eastern Mediterranean, and they're kind of quite floral, quite peachy, quite fruity wines. This is not like that. This is different. This seems a lot more
complex to me. Is that a word?
Yeah, it seems a lot more complex, but also a lot more kind of, I suppose, salty, or a lot more minerality to it, which is good. That's superb.
Spot on. That's a good word.
Yeah. So, in terms of the nose, so this wine, in fact, very quickly, this wine was aged in stainless steel and then in concrete vats, I do believe, which gives a wonderful aromatic quality to these wines. It's not oak, doesn't breathe as much, but it's also not as tight as stainless steel. So it's a halfway house between the two. It's got lovely aromatics. It's a little bit oxidative, a little bit salinity, mango, guava. Bit of straw, a little bit of smokiness on there. Again, that's the volcanic soil.
Smokiness, I've got that. Yeah.
Good tasting note I read before, actually. I didn't come up with this one, but a good one I saw before was green tea. Do you know that kind of like sharpness of green tea? That's a really good tasting note.
Really? Oh.
And jasmine. Jasmine's a big one. Again, really floral, really floral. And then on the palate, high acid bite. There's a real bite to that, but then the palate is wonderful. It's really creamy, quite buttery.
It is creamy, yeah, got it.
It could almost be mistaken, not the nose, but the palate could almost be mistaken for some kind of southern Burgundy, like Côte Chalonnaise or something, or Montagny, or Maconluni, that kind of thing. That the cheaper end of the scale, and that's not a criticism of this, but it's got a richer style to it. Really buttery, yeah. Really creamy, quite textured. And the nose, going back to the nose and the palate, a little bit of like kind of cantaloupe melon.
You have an exceptional nose.
I've got to say that's when we first opened it about 2 hours ago. Just to make sure it wasn't corked or anything.
Of course.
Not drinking it.
No, of course.
It was quite tight. It was quite a tight wine. It seemed a little bit more like sherry-esque. That isn't.
Let itself go now.
That's real kind of let itself go. It's taken off its corset, and it's really open. It's really kind of letting everything hang out. And
it's psychedelic.
I think that's absolutely fantastic. Again, we always say we're not a review channel, and we always say yes, it's fantastic or that kind of stuff. But we're not going to pick wines that we don't want to do.
Correct.
For lovers of things like Condrieu, Burgundy, Viogniers, like your New World Viogniers, those kind of things, this is a wine for you. Is it
13%?
13%, absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, your Viogniers, your kind of New World Chardonnays, a little bit of Southern Burgundy. I think this is an absolutely fantastic value for money wine. And what it brings to the party over those two wines is that kind of minerality and salinity.
And the labels in Spanish.
And the labels in Spanish, yes.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know what that brings to the
I don't know
party,
what that brings to the table, but
there you go.
But no, that's a really, really, really good wine. I would say though, it's not a criticism, it's just an observation, is that for me this is a food wine.
No, I'll go the other way. I do like wine with food, but I just like wine with wine.
We didn't sign contracts to do this, so I can't sack him. But for me, this is a food wine. I would love to have this with some kind of like grilled sardines, a kind of buttery like white fish with a butter sauce and capers, that kind of thing. Simple salads, white meats, that kind of thing. But I would love to have a bit of food with it, to really see it sing. But I think that's a wonderful, wonderful wine, and congratulations to Bodegas Vinatigo for creating it. Again, another semi-indigenous variety, one of many that they have there. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, enjoyable. And the weather.
And the weather, yes. As you can see, we decided to film outside again today because the weather's finally come out.
An Hawaiian wine next time?
No, but we might do an episode on Kona Brewery.
From Hawaii?
Hawaii 5-0. The beer that you drink in Hawaii 5-0. Yeah, absolutely.
Steve McGalley.
Yes, there we go. There we go.
Good stuff.
Anyway, folks, hope you enjoy. If you did like this video, please like and subscribe. It's free. We don't ask for anything other than just you like and subscribe, and maybe occasionally enjoy one of our videos. And we'll put a link in the description to where you can buy this wine because it's worth every penny.
Talk to us. Yeah, we'd love it. Yeah.
If you've got anything you'd like to add, just put it in the comment section below, and we'll get back to you. But anyway, ciao for now.
Ciao.
And we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye.